bam, bim 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 bam, bim bim bam, bim bim bam, bim 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 bam. Bim bam, berry berry bam, berry berry bim bam, berry berry bam, bim bim bam, bim bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim bim bam, bim bim bam, bim 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 bam. All right, we ready? So which camera am I looking at, or it doesn't really matter? Okay, that one. All right, but of course all the people are here. So Shabbat Shalom. Sorry about the delay if you are watching at home on YouTube. If you're here, thank you for being here. Welcome. You're going to see me looking a lot of different ways tonight, right? Not just at you if you happen to be watching at home, because we are practicing for the high holidays, and we got all kinds of different stations going on, because we're going to fill this courtyard to its maximum come Monday night and Tuesday, Rosh Hashanah. All right, so we're going to begin with letting the heavens rejoice and the earth be glad, page 6. Yismechu hashamayim, page 6. Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, Betagel haaretz. Yiramayam, 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 oh, Yiramayam, 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 umelo. Let's go to so hang on just a second. Now let's go all the way to page 12. Romamu, exalt in Hashem our God. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu vehishtachavu le'ar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu vehishtachavu le'ar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Page 13. Mizmor leDavid, havu l'Adonai bnei Elim, havu l'Adonai kavod va'oz, ay, havu l'Adonai ke'evot shemo, ishtachavu l'Adonai behadrat kodesh, kol Adonai al hamayim el hakavod hirim. Adonai al mayim rabim, kol Adonai ba'koach, ay, kol Adonai be'echadar, kol Adonai shover arazim, vayishaber Adonai et arzei halvanon, vayarkirem kemo egel lebanon be'esirion, kemo ven re'emim, ay, kol Adonai chotzev lavon esh, kol Adonai yachir midbar, יחיל אדוני מדבר קדש, כל אדוני יכול אל איילות, ויחסו עוף יערות, ובהיכלו כולו אומר כבוד, איי 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 אדוני להמה הוא ישב וישב, אדוני מלך לעולם, אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. היי איי 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 יאי ניי 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 יאי ניי 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 יאי ניי 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 יאי ניי ניי יאי ניי 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 יאי ניי 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 יאי 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 ניי 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 יאי ניי 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 יאי ניי 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 ניי. All right, Lecha Dodi, page 15. No, actually, yeah, I'll try it. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, פני שבת נקבלה, שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשמו תפארת ולעילה. לך דודי דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Bottom of 17. ימין ושמאל תפ ואת אדוני תריצי, על יד איש בן פרצי, ונשמחה ונגילה. לך דודי דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. We rise and face the entrance, welcoming the Shabbat bride, the Kala. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam besimcha uvetzola, toch emuneh am segula. Boi kala, lecha dodi, lecha dodi לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, lecha dodi לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. And we say to any mourners in our midst, Hamakom menachem etchem b'tok travelei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May God comfort you with all the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. We may be seated, and just a little teaser, Kala, something to do with my Erev Rosh Hashanah sermon this year. It's numerically related, okay? It's a little teaser, kind of a stretch too, but you'll see. Okay, just think Kala and the numbers. All right, page 19. Mizkir leyom haShabbat, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון, לזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור, מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. We continue silently 19 and 20. Tzadik amar yifrach, kerez balvanon yitzgeh, shetulim beveit Adonai bechatzrot, Eloheinu yafrichu od yenuvun Seva deshenim verananim hiu lehagid ki ashar Adonai tzuri velo avlatabo. 21. Adonai malach yot lavesh, lavesh Adonai al sitazar, Aftikon tevel ba'altimot nachon ki sacha me'az me'lamata nasu nerot Adonai nasu nerot kolam yisu nerot doch yam. Mi kolot mayim mayim rabim adirim mishpereyam Adir b'marom Adonai Erotecha ne'emnu me'od Beveitecha nava Kodesh Adonai le'orech yamin. We rise for the Baruch Hu. I'm going to start using some of the high holiday melodies tonight to sort of get us in the mood. All right, yeah, east is that way, you know, so like if you're, at my perspective, you'd face that plant, but depends on where you are. So. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. We may be seated. El Chai V'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Hamariv Avim. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Ahaveta Amcha Ahaveta Torah u'mitzvot ukim u'mishpatim otanu limadita Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu Kumeinu nesiach b'chukecha ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו באורך ימינו ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, נגה יומם ולילה. לבדך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל. Page 25. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Continue silently, 27 through 29. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. עושה לנו ניסים ונקמה. Page 32, Malchuto Bratzon Kribu Alehem, Moshe v'nei Yisrael Chanashira b'simcha rabah, v'yamru chulam. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele. מלכותך ראו בניך, חוקי הים לפני משה. אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כפרנה את יעקב, וגלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. 33. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים. השכיבנו Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom Hamidenu Malkeinu Lechaim Ushmor Tziteinu Lechaim Shalom Me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom V'hamidenu Malkeinu Lechaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom V'hamidenu Malkeinu Lechaim. Rosalenu Sukat Shlomecha, Baruch Atah Adonai, Haparei Sukat Shalom Aleinu, V'kol Amo Yisrael, V'al Yerushalayim. We rise for the covenant of Shabbat, V'shamru. Clap along to the song, which many of you are doing so well. V'shamru, V'nei Yisrael, Et HaShabbat. לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. Remain standing. My holiday melody. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah v'alma divrach yeruteh v'yamlich malchuteh v'chayechon uv'yomechon v'chedecho beit Yisrael b'aglav izman kariv v'yemeru amen. Yeshmei Rabba mevorach leolam u'ol me'almaya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishtach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei nekudesha barichu la'ela mikol bercha v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Tamiran be'alma v'meru Amen. We do the Amidah privately, pages 37 to 48. It's a good time for whatever prayers are in your heart. Yose Shalom Bimromav. Yase Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'meru. Amen. All right, it is now President time, which most of you know that every week for a while, I've been talking about a U.S. president historically in order and their relationship to the Jewish community. And we're up to John Fitzgerald Kennedy tonight. And most people, we're now at the point where people know a lot about these presidents, and some of you who are watching even were alive during their tenures. What you know about Kennedy, of course, that he was from Massachusetts. You probably know that he was Catholic, and that was a big deal as he was running, as he talked about when he was running for office, that no, he's not going to listen to the Pope. That's, you know, there's a separation of church and state in this country. He wasn't the first Catholic to run. I think Alfred Smith was, but he was the first Catholic to win. He was very telegenic. It was the salad days of America, Camelot, all these exciting things. He was the youngest president elected, at least up until that time. Is he still, or was Obama younger? I think he was still the youngest. Okay. All right, so anyway, however, as popular as he was, the Jewish community mostly did not support him during the primary. There were a couple reasons for that. One was that they were closer over the years with Hubert H. Humphrey, one of his opponents from Minnesota, and also Adlai Stevenson. But even more importantly, his father was rather anti-Semitic, Joseph Kennedy. He was a major appeaser of Germany during World War II, and there was a lot to be said about him that was not very positive. I think he was a believer that Jews were in a secret cabal that ruled the world. I mean, he was pretty bad. John was very different. Once he did win the primary, we had a series of meetings with leaders of the Jewish community, and he ended up with over 80% of the Jewish vote, which was a lot, and more than Eisenhower's opponents got. So, as president, he appointed 2 Jewish members to his cabinet. Abraham Ribicoff was the Secretary of Health, and Arthur Goldberg was appointed as Secretary of Labor. However, Goldberg switched to a Supreme Court justice when Felix Frankfurter retired. Also, one of Kennedy's major speechwriters was a Jewish man named Richard Goodwin. Now, he knew lots of other Jews in his tenure. Those were probably the biggest and most important Jewish influences on him. He was a very big supporter of the state of Israel, and that went back to his days in Congress. In 1947, as congressman, he was the keynote speaker to open the ZOA convention, Zionist Organization of America, which was very different back then than it is today. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. But it was a big deal back then. The only thing I'll tell you is you'd be hard pressed to find a Democratic speaker to open that convention today. But back then, it really covered the whole gamut of Jews in the country, regardless of their politics. And this is what he said. And forgive me, it's impossible to read John F. Kennedy's words without a little bit of a Boston twang. It is my conviction that a just solution requires the establishment of a free and democratic Jewish commonwealth in Palestine, the opening of the doors of Palestine to Jewish immigration, and the removal of land restrictions, so that those members of the people of Israel who desire to do so may work out their destiny under their chosen leaders in the land of Israel. If the United States is to be true to its own democratic traditions, it will actively and dynamically support this policy. That might be a little twinge of Rhode Island in it, because that's where I live. But anyway, that's what he said as congressman. And then later, at the 8-year anniversary of Israel, so still not president yet, he said, "It is time that the nations of the world in the Middle East and elsewhere realize that Israel is here to stay. She will not surrender, she will not retreat, and we will not let her fail." he also was the first US president to sell weapons to the state of Israel. Eisenhower did not. Israel, in their wars, had to rely on actually France for their arms supplies. Kennedy, partly because of his support of Israel, partly it was to counter the Soviet Union and all the weaponry that they were giving to most of the other nations in the Middle East. He was also a big supporter of Soviet Jewry and challenged the Soviet government to protect and free Jews. Not with much success at that time, mind you, but he did make several public statements to that. Of course, Kennedy is probably most famous for his assassination. His brother's assassin is in the news lately, right? Bobby's assassin, Sirhan, about possibly being paroled. In any case, that Shabbat, I don't know how they document this, but the books tell you that it was the most attended Shabbat service in American history. Also the most attended church services in American history. Everybody wanted to be in their house of worship, to just be together, express their pain and their sorrow for John F. Kennedy. One of the more documented sermons given that weekend was by the rabbi of Addis, Israel, which is the big conservative synagogue in Washington, D.C., who talked about how it's called Out of Evil, and he talked about how every situation, evil, even evil ones, contain within them the opportunity to extract a blessing. And Lady Bird Johnson heard about it and asked for a copy as the new First Lady. So that's a little bit about John F. Kennedy. Obviously, his life, his presidency, and his relationship to the Jewish community cut short. So that's it for now. I'm going to take a few weeks off from the presidents. Throughout all the holidays, we're going to get past Simchat Torah before we tackle Lyndon Baines Johnson. So, LBJ. That's it. All right. All right, so Karen over there for Tate. Garrett over there for Ezra. You could put your hands on the heads of your children, and we offer blessings. As we say, Simcha Elohim k'Ephraim v'chi Menashe, Simech Elohim k'Sar v'Kara Chevaleah, Yivarecha Adonai v'Yishmerecha, Yireh Adonai panav elecha v'Yichuneka, Yisad Adonai panav elecha v'Yasem lecha shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May God lift the divine face toward you and grant you peace. Amen. Please rise for the Aleinu. Page 57. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula liotzev reshit, shelo asanu k'yeh haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu k'cho hamonam, v'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Shehu note shamayim veyoset aretz, umoshev yikaro bashamayim mima'al, ushchinat uzo begov emiro mi'im, hu Eloheinu enod, emet malkeinu efes zulato, kakatu betorato, v'yadata hayom ve'hashivota, el levavecha, Ki Adonai hu Elohim bashamayim mima'al v'ha'aretz mitachat enod al keneka v'lechad. Kakatu b'toratecha Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. V'ne'emar v'chaya Adonai l'melech al kol ha'aretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. We may be seated as we lovingly recall the memory of our departed relatives and friends whose yortzites we observe during the coming week. Thinking especially tonight of Rabbi Rachlin Baer, Eli Baston, Ethel Baston, Abraham Bauer, Avram Berkovich, Norma Berkovich, Abraham Breslov, George Bruder, Arlene Davis, Abraham Elkin, Jack Garfinkel, Mary Gilday, Henry Glasser, Ida Gold, Merle Goldstone, Isidore Gottlieb, Ben Horwitz, Lillian Simon Jacober, William Kestenblatt, Jack Covell, Gertrude Kreimerman, Nathan Kurtz, Regina Lazar, Jacob Leeson, Eli Levis, Joyce Levitch, Joseph Markovitz, Nuta Oak, Eileen Pachevsky, Carolyn Rao, Albert Reingold, Henry Rosenberg, Bertha Rothman, Joseph Schwartz, Sidney Tuckman, Pearl Weiner, Samuel Weiss, and Benjamin Wolf. We're in the Shloshim for Edith Denenberg, the mother of Barbara Osseroff, and the Shiva for Erwin Kanan, the husband of Adele Mendelsohn Kanan. Also want to recognize, I meant to do this last week, I forgot to, a very important member of the Oakland general community who died, conductor, maestro Michael Morgan, fantastic conductor and human being. And I mean, just really just understood the whole community, very respectful, helpful to the Jewish community as well. Wanted to put on special concerts, put one on based on Holocaust music, and really just a lovely, lovely man. He will truly be missed. And you know, we couldn't help but notice the parallels. He's a little older, but not much, for Calvin Simmons, both young black conductors, classical music here in Oakland, role models, and wonderful human beings who just did not live out the fullness of their days. So our thoughts are with the city of Oakland for all that. Memories of all of them are with us. We ask all those who are in mourning or observing Yortzeit, anyone else who would choose to do so, to join in the Mourner's Kaddish. It's on page 61. V'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, v'almad yivrach Yerutei, v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chayei echol Beit Yisrael, b'galav v'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach, le'olam l'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, Shemei Kudsha barichu, la'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran bi'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Zichronam livracha, may the memory of the people you've come to say Kaddish for be a blessing to you always. And let us say Amen. Do you also have your Yortzeit tonight? Or your father? It's on. Did I read the name? Thank you. May the memory be a blessing. Barbara, may the memory be a blessing to you. All right, some announcements. I also want to recognize at Kaddish, so Alan Rubin, as we did the unveiling for your beloved Ellen, and may her memory continue to bless you as well. We have services tomorrow at 9:30. They're going to be outside tomorrow again, all this practice for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Erev Rosh Hashanah is at 6 p.m. on Monday night. If you're watching and you still want to go to that service, please contact me or Raina at the synagogue. There are still openings for that one. There are openings for family and youth services as well in Rosh Hashanah. There's no openings for Rosh Hashanah Day 1 or Rosh Hashanah Day 2. If you want to go to another part of the high holidays, the end of Yom Kippur is open. Afternoon, Ne'ilah, Mincha, and Nila. So first of all, thank you to Josh Mailman, our fabulous, unbelievable volunteer who arranges for all this stuff. And also want to thank Garrett Schwartz, who behind the scenes has arranged all these forms and all the sign-ups. I mean, it would not be possible without these two fabulous volunteers. So thank you to both of you. Really appreciate it. Also tomorrow, we have both a conversion and an ufruf. So we have somebody getting his Hebrew name tomorrow, and then later in the service, the wedding's not for a few weeks, but this is the only Saturday that they can make. So for Lucas and Alexandra, they're going to be called to the Torah tomorrow. We're going to throw some candy at them. Very, very exciting. And I think that's about it. All right, very short closing song, which you will recognize. Because you've heard it 4 times already tonight, at least the melody. Lishana tova tikatevu, Lishana tova tikatevu, tikatevu, Lishana tova. Just so you know what it means in case you don't. Lishana tova tikatevu, a happy new year to you. Tikatevu, the same to you. Shabbat shalom and Lishana tova.